Hey, my loves, thank you so much for joining with me or joining me today. I'm going to be talking about my experience um, as someone who walks with death and also talk about my experience as someone who death chose to walk with. I guess I will also say as well because death did come to me first before I even sought out being a devotee of La Santa Muerte. So, if you are interested in any New Year readings, the information is in the description box below. I also do numerology, healing sessions as well. So all that information is going to be in the description box. I'm also going to be putting out more series and videos and content surrounding more of the practice that I do as a necromancer, especially someone who does a lot of their practice alone. Although I do tend to go to different houses or do different ceremonies, and I'm also in various cult works or various cults. I do also tend to work alone. It is just a preference. It's not something that everyone chooses to do, but it just works for me. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So, I initially got to be a devotee for towards La Santa Muerte. She came to me years ago. Um, I did not know who she was. I didn't know much about her, and I do talk about my experience in working with death. But I'm gonna talk a little bit more today as why I chose to work with death, um, or how I even got into it. So I've had terrible life experiences. I had a horrible childhood growing up, very traumatic. I've had quite a few near death experiences as well as a child. Um, there were two occasions where I was drowning in a pool. These are two separate times. Um, and the first time I remember that I can, like, of age that I can remember, um, was maybe about, I could have been maybe 3 years old, 4 years old. Can't really remember the age. But I do remember I was with family, I was with my cousins. We were at a pool. This was a community pool that we were at. And I remember holding on to the edge of the wall of that pool and I slipped in. And I remember just like waving and flailing and I was going under. And I can remember every time I'm going under, I'm trying to lift my head back up, and my cousin is watching me. He's so scared. And he didn't go get help or anything, but I remember something or someone picking me up and I was laying on the side of the pool. And this is, I'm talking about open community, a bunch of people, but I did not see the person who had saved me. I do not remember seeing them. I don't recall seeing them. I don't remember who it was. I just know it was like a giant hand lift me up out that water and put me on the side of the thing. Um, and then for the rest of the day, I remember just sitting at the end of the pool. Um, I've had various life experiences which could have led me to death. Um, I also recall another situation. I was a little bit older, drowning in a pool, and someone saving me. Um, I also remember uh, I was in a situation where I was a teenager. I grew up in a neighborhood that was very rough, and I was held at gunpoint, the gun to my head, when someone had approached me, and I was with some friends and siblings, my sibling, and approached me, gun to my head. They were upset because they were in a gang. We were with somebody who was in a rival gang. Um, and I thought they were going to blow my head off. And for some reason, I remember looking in that person's eye and they spared me. Um, I did not beg, I did not ask for anything. At that point, I just thought that was it. I remember the people we were with were screaming, they were so scared. And something told me to just remain calm. And I remained calm. I remember looking in his eyes and something in his eyes, it was just something that I saw that just clicked, and he just put the gun down and he ran. He lowered it from, my head, ran off. Um, that was another I guess like serious situation that I knew I was coming face to face with, like, not being alive anymore. Um, there's also situations that I had, I guess, where I imposed or I brought towards myself. Like I mentioned, I had a very rough upbringing, very rough childhood, but my teenage years was even worse. When you grow up in a house full of trauma, or someone who had a lot of trauma in their childhood, they project it onto you. So there were times I just didn't want to even be there or be around anymore. I was a runaway. But with that being said, it built me into a person today where I'm very resilient. So I would say I got more so into cult practices within, I would say, the past. Um, between, I would say, I like to say 14 years, but I didn't get more so into death or following death or understanding death up until I would say within the past 5 years. Um, However, people who tend to have death around them usually have very traumatic childhood. They have a lot of like traumatic situations that happen to them. I even have went to several practitioners. The first practitioner I went to was by mistake. This person was offering free healing sessions. I also do Reiki. I do shadow Reiki. I do different kind of Reiki. And this person, in order for them to get their certification, they needed like a test subject. And I was like, I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like anything to help somebody out, like I got you. So they did a new method of healing where you don't even have to be face to face, right? And it's not just distant healing with Reiki. They do something with this pen, and it pushes the emotions out of the location of your body or your aura where it's trapped. So you have these trapped emotions, traumatic situations. Everything is trapped in this region and is causing some kind of health issue. And I had stuff going on because I was going through a transition also where I had cut a lot of people off in my life. I was isolating, and that's the thing people don't understand. When you choose to be a practitioner, when you choose to do these kind of things, it is not easy. It is not easy. You'll go through a lot of isolations, dark nights of the soul, depression. You go through a whole lot. There's going to be times where you don't even feel like you want to be on this planet anymore, okay? And I remember that this girl had told me, she was like, oh, we have something here. And I'm like, oh, what's that? I had, and she told me, you weren't supposed to be born. You weren't supposed to be here. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she said, someone placed a curse on you, on your mother, before you were, when you were in the womb. You weren't supposed to be here. Um, so she had to remove that. And it stuck with me. This is years ago. This is maybe like, you know, 4 years ago. I don't know. This is many years ago. And this is a person who, she was Christian. She was a Christian faith. She didn't really believe in, some of the stuff that I do, or she respected it, but she wasn't into it. So talking about curses and stuff like that was kind of uncomfortable to her. She was just like, oh wow, I knew a lot about it because at that point I was already doing exorcisms. I was already doing curse removals and hex breaking and stuff like that. So she was basically telling me, certain things that I was just like, I didn't even really know too much about. And at that point, I was a little bit skeptical because I'm like, is this person just saying this stuff? And then she also confirmed I did have a family member who was putting me in a prenda, putting me in a pot, who's making me sick. They were going to somebody, a practitioner who was working me at that time. And I didn't really have a lot of protection at that time. La Santa Muerte started coming to me around that same time that this was going on, but I didn't know who she was. I didn't work with death. I was very benign in my practice. I did a lot of sound bowl healing, a lot of Reiki healing. I worked in a facility. It was a health spa where I actually did Reiki for like a living. So I didn't do anything too much as far as like candle work. I just did a little bit of manifestation and card reading. Um, I would do a little, benign work, but I did do exorcisms. That was something that I was starting to become acquainted with. Learning about those spirits, learning about entity attachments and how they make people sick or psychotic. I started studying that. Something was telling me like, hey, you're going to be getting into this. So I started being a little bit more open. But this person, to know that information without knowing who I am, we worked together because we both worked at that health spa. I was not too familiar with what she did. We would talk a little bit on an occasion. I knew she was a Christian faith, but I knew for a fact that she wouldn't just say something or make something up. I was still skeptical. After she told me somebody put a curse on you, that's why you're feeling not so well. So I'm going to remove the residual. So she removed the residual from me. And then she also mentioned that when I was born in the womb, I wasn't supposed to make it, that somebody put a curse on me. Remove that residual as well. Fast forward, at that point, I started to work with La Santa Muerte, but not fully. And what I mean by that is when I would do exorcisms on people, when I would remove the entities or the spirits, I would notice her presence a lot more. I would see her in my mind's sight, or I would see her at certain times of night. Like before I'm about to perform a ritual on somebody, I would notice her presence is there. I would also get gifted little things. that let me know that she was around in hindsight. Someone gifted me her tarot cards, and it was like, these cards don't resonate with me. I think you deserve them. You need them. I've had people. I had incense of her. Like, I was gifted incense. I was gifted a bunch of stuff. I had a bracelet. I don't have it on me right now, but I had got a bracelet, and it was little skulls. It was death, and it was like the seven powers. And I just didn't realize that this is who was coming to me, who was around me, and I didn't know too much about her. But then I started to learn and study about her. I've had people also tell me like she was around you, or they would tell me, "Oh, I thought you worked with her," and I'm like, "No, I don't know much about her." I was honestly a little bit scared to work with her because I knew what kind of work I would get into. I knew I was prolonging the inevitable, but it was one of those things that I had to build myself up to. Um, and then it came to a point where I had somebody putting death spells on me. I had somebody trying to really hurt me. My family is very sick. Um, if anything, there's some people who say you don't always have to forgive. I don't, I do forgive, but I don't forget what happened to me, which is why I had to completely cut them off and isolate myself from them because they're very sick. They were really trying to make me sick at this time. And for some reason, I came across the path of someone else. They were a student of Ifa, and they had some stuff going on. So I did an exorcism for them. I did an exorcism for them and their dog. Unfortunately, they had somebody, and that's the thing. When you get in this community, you'll start noticing little patterns or mirroring of people. This person had an ex who was putting death spells on them and their dog. Unfortunately, the dog did pass. Um, we tried to keep the dog alive as long as we could. And I'm talking about with exorcisms, Reiki healing, to the point where, I've seen this dog pretty much until it was on its deathbed. Um, and the person who was doing that was, a very advanced practitioner, that it was causing cancer inside of this dog, a lot of illness. And as much as I was cleaning it off, all I was doing was giving it extra time to live. Because at that point, it already had, before they met me, they went to see another spiritualist, and that spiritualist had told them that the dog already had death on them. They were already marked, you know. Um, but that person got to spend a little bit more time with the cleansings and the healings that I was doing. They got to spend a little bit more time with their loved one because they raised that dog from a puppy. The dog ended up being like 12 years old, and unfortunately, death came. But we made sure it was peaceful. Sometimes when death marks you, when it's time to go, there's nothing you can do, right? I hate to even say accept your fate. There's times that death might be put on you, but you're able to remove certain things. There's certain rituals, especially in certain cults, where if somebody puts something on you, somebody puts something on you to make you sick or try to kill you or hurt you, that can be removed. That can be removed. If you are if you are supposed to go, it is your time to go. There's nothing you can do to remove that part away. There's a difference. People don't understand. If it is your time to go, you have served your purpose and it's time for you to transition, that is it. But if people are putting stuff on you, they're trying to hurt you and harm you to bring you to death, that can be removed. That's the difference. So that's what happened to her dog, but it was too late at that point. It was too late. She was too sick. And even when I had met that person, they were so sick. They were so sick. They were breaking bones. Hair was falling out of their head. Severe, all their health issues were exacerbated at that point. This person was in severe, severe, severe distress. And even when I went to an oracle, the oracle had told them that my purpose to be there was to help them, was to cleanse them, was to teach them, right? I'm very big on that, on teaching, on helping people to better your path, to build your relationship with death. And I taught them how to work with death. I taught them how to venerate their ancestors. I taught them how to cleanse themselves. I taught them how to do exorcism. I taught them so many different things because at the end of the day, this will help lessen what you're going through. Some people, they run away in fear of their path that they were chosen to do. I have been there where I've been so terrified and afraid because of the things that I experienced that I wanted to run away from it. But at the end of the day, when you are chosen, you are chosen. That's it. They're not going to go anywhere. And sometimes they'll even get impatient, and they're like, well, we're not waiting around much longer, so you either do it the easy way or the hard way. So I've definitely been there before, and my purpose, I definitely feel like, is to teach others how to lessen the blow of what it is that they're experiencing. It's difficult. Doing this kind of work is difficult. Walking with death and choosing to work with death is a very difficult um, path to be chosen for. But you have a purpose while you are here. And I'm not going to say all children of death or all children who walk with death have difficult lives, but I've noticed a pattern in those who choose to walk with death or have death around them. Protecting them is usually for a purpose, and it's usually because they went through a lot of stuff. They need that spiritual protection because they have bad stuff happening to them. They've had traumatic situations, and you know, in order for you to understand death, or in order for you to understand life, you have to have death. You have to have the balance of the two. So I definitely can say that just from experience, a lot of people that I've met who have La Santa Muerte or have death walking with them um, usually went through a lot of messed up stuff, just a ton of messed up stuff. I'm talking about super traumatic stuff. Is that the case for everybody? No, because I've heard people who were devotees of death who tell me, or who said that their life wasn't so bad, but majority of them have, it's usually really messed up stuff. Not just one or two. It was a slew of horrific things that has happened to them. Um, so the other person that I end up going to, and before I started talking about that student of Ifa, they introduced me into other spiritual practices because I was more so of somebody who liked to learn on their own. They taught me how to do things in a structured way. So I happened to meet a tata, and a tata is someone, or a gangalero. That is another term for a priest of Palo Mayombe who works a pot, who works a spiritual pot, who can do initiations. Okay, so I went to this gangalero because I started getting sick. I was getting sick because somebody was putting me in a prenda. They were working me really bad. And every time I do an exorcism and I'll be okay, bah, I was getting hit again. And I was, exorcism, bah, I was getting hit again. And at this point, I wasn't working with La Santa Muerte. At this point, I was just free balling, doing everything. I was doing the exorcisms. I didn't have an altar to her. I didn't have an altar to a lot of the spirits that I work with now because I am in different cults or in different paths. So I was just getting hit, bop, 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 back to back, back to back. I get better, I get sick, I get better, I get sick. And I'm talking about relentless. This was not something where, once in a while. I'm talking about consistently every night, to the point where I was like, just take me. It was just so bad. Um, so they introduced me to this tata, and you go and get a reading, right? And they do divination, and that's the thing with Ifa, with Palo. There are divination systems that people use. You don't know this person doesn't know you from a can of paint. I don't know this person from a can, like, they don't know you. I don't know this person. I was just literally introduced. This person didn't even know much about me. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the stuff that was coming out, it just confirmed everything that was going on. And I'm like, okay, I know this is for real. I know this is serious because other people are telling me what's going on, and I'm not even telling them anything. Um, and they talk to me and they tell me, they do their divining, and they're like, you have to be careful because there's betrayal that's coming from a man and a woman. And instantly I knew who it was because it was my family members. I kept dreaming about them. I'm dreaming about them every single night, and every time I get clean, I'm dreaming about them. And at first I'm like, I'm delusional, like these people are just showing up because I cut them off, and maybe it's anxiety because I'm scared something's gonna happen to me. That's why I'm dreaming about these people. But the dreams were just vile. I had to have been more than that. And I think because I'm such a skeptic, which is why me practicing the occult is because I truly believe, understand, and see what goes on with these practices. I'm somebody who is very scientific based. I thought I was going to be an environmental scientist at one point. So I've done a lot of science studying. I need things to make sense. I need things I need visual proof. I need to see, I need to feel, right? Which is why I was so skeptical, even when that person had told me that a family member, and I'm talking about the person way, way back when she did that clearing, she told me that a family member had cursed me in the womb, and that somebody else had placed a curse on me, and I knew it was a family member. Um, I was still skeptical because I was like, I don't want to believe that somebody will go out their way to do that. However, nonetheless, he tells me the betrayal is coming from a family member. Um, and he told me what to do. And he was like, death walks with you because you were not supposed to be born. And I'm like getting chills. I'm like, oh, because that's what I've heard before. And he was like, because you were not, you were not supposed to be born. It's not necessarily that I don't have a life path, but I get to choose the things that I want to do in life. I feel like I need to be in service of other people who are here, who need assistance, who need help, who need understanding, who need to make things a little bit easier when you're on your spiritual path. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know I'm supposed to heal, and he was talking about all these things that I was supposed to do. That my purpose is, but the most important thing was he was like, you were not supposed to be here. Like you were not like, you know, you were cursed before you were even born. There was a curse placed on the womb before you were born, and it was a family member who did it. Um, his divining skills was a whole lot better than the first person who told me, because she was technically doing a healing session. He was divining, and everything comes straight from source, right? So he was just basically reading me and telling me, he was like, you need to walk with death. Now, I was so scared to work with Santa Muerte. He told me, you do not have to work with Santa Muerte, but you have to work with a death deity. You do have to work with a death goddess. Um, and he was like, but it's up to you, whoever you choose to work with. I chose to work with Mitequatical. I chose to work with La Santa Muerte because that is what makes more sense to me for my indigenous roots. But there are other death goddesses that I work with. There are other death goddesses that are around me that have come in dreams that I work with. But as a main, La Santa Muerte, because she has saved me from a lot of things. I'm talking about a lot of things. A lot of times where I could have been either homeless, a lot of times where I could have been not alive. I could have ended up somewhere where my organs freaking harvested, or I've been put in a lot of really messed up, crazy situations in life. There's times where I probably wouldn't have been alive, but she was there. Even when I was going through like my toughest hours or the toughest situations, she was there. Like her presence, I can see her. I was dreaming about her. Even times when I was getting hit and worked in a pot, um, I just remember her being there. I would dream about her all the time. I would dream about her being there, protecting me from stuff. Um, which is why I do feel like I owe, yeah, I owe my life to her. And not just owe my life, like that's why I'm so devoted to her, because of the things that she did for me. How could I not devote myself to her? How could I not, be honored that she chose to be around me or even come to me or show her presence to me? It was an honor. But he confirmed it. He confirmed the same exact thing that she had said. And then I also went to a Baba who said the same thing. You were not supposed to be here. The betrayal that you are experiencing, all the hardships that you're experiencing right now is because your family. Um, and he also said, like, once someone crosses me, they cannot be trusted again. I have a very, very, and that's one of the traits I do not like about myself. I'm a very forgiving person. I'm a very understanding person. I am a person who, because I went through so much rough stuff in life, I'm not about to give you a hard time. I'm not about to make your life difficult just because my life was difficult. And I always take people back. I always befriend people who are no good, who always like feed off of me or whatever the case is, because and it's not even I got a big old heart. It's because I have empathy. I have empathy, and I feel for people. But with that being said, I get taken advantage of a lot, and he said that like I got to stop doing that. I had to do a few other things like ritual wise or whatever to gain my strength. It took a very long time for me to get to the position that I'm at now, especially spiritually, especially the work that I do, especially the spirits that walk with me. It took a very long time for me to get here, even with La Santa Muerte, which is why when people talk about working with her, make sure this is something you are fit to do and that you want to do. When I say that to people, it's never in a way to stray or steer you away. It's because she requires a lot. She requires attention. It's not something that you're gonna go ask her for something and she blesses you with it, and then you ignore her for a month or two. You ignore her for weeks. You don't change her altar water or her coffee, or you don't clean it, or you don't do what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? She gives really strong protection. And not just that, she with the path, and the pantheon of spirits that I work with, because I'm in different practices, she works with them. She works through them. I remember when, I needed some extra protection, and what did she do? She sent me to a voodoo house so that I can go get whatever it is that I need for protection. So I can, whether it's sacrifice or whether it's to receive a spirit, whether it's to receive something, she works through, like, she will work through them. She will send me over along the way. She's a very versatile spirit, which is why it makes very, like, it so much makes sense. Like, that's why I would choose to work with her. That's why. But also, death was always around me. I went through so many really crazy, scary life experiences where I wasn't supposed to even be here. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you might also experience that as well. Like, you weren't supposed to be here, or you've been through near death experiences. I've been through more than one, like, near death experiences where it's like you have purpose here. There's a reason why you're here. But beings like you have to be protected. You have to protect yourself. You have to have spiritual protection, especially when you are doing this kind of work. You can't just be out here like how I was, unprotected, not doing anything. I'm always kind of to turn the other cheek kind of person, and just, I'm a spare somebody because I could come through like a hurricane. But it came to a point where I couldn't do that anymore. I had to protect myself. I had to put myself first and make sure I had the protection that was needed to make sure that I'm good. But yeah, that's pretty much why I chose to walk with death, or why death chose to walk with me, was because your girl was not supposed to be here. I was definitely somebody who went through a lot of hardship. I went through a lot of messed up stuff in life, um, curses and near death experiences, and really just messed up situations. So I'm just grateful that she came to me and she wanted to work with me, through all the difficulty, because it was, you know, you get to a certain point where you're just like, I don't even know if I'm meant for this. Like, I don't even know this is for me. So that to somebody the other day, I was like, I just feel grateful that they even chose to work with me or be around me, because there's times where it feels like I don't even know if this is where I'm supposed to be right now. But you're always going to be in a position of where you're supposed to be at that moment. It just might not be great all the time, especially working with death. You might find yourself in some really vulnerable positions. If you are somebody, where not a lot of people like you, and it's not even because you're a bad person, it could literally be like you were in a position that I was in. You cut people off so that they couldn't siphon your energy anymore. And now they're angry and they're going to put you in a pot. You need that spiritual protection. People get so scared to work with her or to allow her to walk with you, but you need her. You need that kind of strong protection. You need something strong and powerful and dark and heavy, which is why I even got into, voodoo, because when the dreams started coming, I couldn't avoid it anymore. Um, but I knew I needed it. And I knew me going into servitude to them, into servitude for La Santa Muerte, even the rituals that I do to bond and, strengthen my relationship with La Santa Muerte, I devoted myself because I know that's what I needed. It was for the best for me, to walk with those spirits and allow them to guide me and lead me. Um, I did open up and get a little bit vulnerable with this, so thank you so much for allowing me to share my experience with you. Thank you for always watching and supporting, and those who return to watch my videos, I appreciate you. Y'all allow me to be able to open up about certain things, and share my experience, and also educate. I feel like a lot of people who put videos and content out can kind of sugarcoat things, and I would never do that. I would never sugarcoat things. I would never make things seem like what they're not. I would never try to put my power or my knowledge over someone else's, because I'm always open to learn. I'm always open to explain things. And I just want to, like I mentioned, I just want to make this journey easier for somebody, because this is not an easy path. It's not an easy journey. It gets easier, but is it ever easy? No. There's times where things chill out and it calms down, but then there's times where it picks back up again. And you just need to learn your purpose. You just need to learn to continue to run with it, and to have blind faith, and to trust the path that you're on, because you're in the place that you're supposed to be. This moment is the right moment for you. It might not be the best, but you need to learn and gain this experience. You need to understand your true path as to why death chose to walk with you, or why death is calling you, and why you should honor that and respect it and devote yourself to it. But I'll be dropping more content. I appreciate y'all so much. Like I said, any information that y'all need is in the description box below. If you want to reach out to me, you can also comment. Thank you so much for staying tuned. And I just give so much love and appreciation to you. I'll talk to you soon. Ciao.